what training zone are you using for running? So if you're a brand new runner, you don't really know what zones you're using, you're not really measuring it at all. If you've been using different metrics for a while and you want to see all the different options, that's basically what I'm going to talk about right now in this uncut rant video. I'm going to talk about the 4 different ways you can measure your training zones for running. So that is heart rate, perceived effort, pace, and power, which is something that's more recent in the last couple years. So first thing I want to do is talk about basically an overview of each one of these things. So for heart rate, what you're going to need is a monitor and a actual device that's going to pick up. So older ways were a running strap, and then you could use like a watch that would tell you your heart rate. Now they have heart rates in watches. They have Fitbits that have heart rate. So that's what you're pretty much going to need for a race pace, or for your actual pace. Once again, you're going to need a GPS watch, or if you're on a track, you could just use a stopwatch. Or if you're even on a flat area and you know the distance, you can just use a stopwatch as well. But I'd definitely recommend that you probably use a GPS watch. Then you can use your pace anywhere you are. And perceived effort, you don't need anything. So it's just your own perceived effort all the time. And the 4th one is power, which means you're going to need a device that's going to pick up the power and your actual power device, which I believe is connected to a shoe. I actually don't know that much about power, but we'll get to that after. So heart rate, there are some cons to heart rate. So if you are overtrained, or you're sick, or you're a little bit tired, or there's hills, your heart rate's going to spike, and it's going to take you out of the zone that you're trying to stay in. So it's not always that accurate. Those are some of the negatives of heart rate, but it's definitely very accurate pretty much all the time for the flats. And also with the heat, it's going to be elevated sometimes too. But if you weigh in all those considerations, you can still find a pretty accurate measurement with heart rate. For actual pace, it's very accurate if you're on the flat. If you're on a track or if anything like that, it's gonna be a very accurate measurement for you. But as soon as you get into hills, uphill, downhill, now all of a sudden, you're not gonna be able to hold the same actual pace going uphill as you were on a flat surface. So you definitely have to weigh that in when you're running with just pace. And one of the positives about perceived effort is that you actually don't need any gear at all. So you can just basically just run, right? You don't need any gear, but it might not be as exact as the other things. But when you're on the hills, when maybe it's a little hotter outside, you can just go by your perceived effort. If you're on a technical terrain, maybe you're doing a little bit of trail running or something like that, it's all going to be about your own perceived effort. And it's very, very accurate, and it's definitely the oldest and most well-used type of form of training zone measurement. And so basically, what's my recommendation? So personally, what I use is a combination of more than one. So I don't do that much training with heart rate, but what I do use is a GPS watch, and I run by pace. So one of the best forms to figure out your pace or your different zones of your pace is the guy Jack Daniels is a runner, and he has a website. If you just put in Jack Daniels in Google, it'll come up. And basically how it works is whatever speed that you're currently running a race. So if you've gone out recently and run a 5K, 10K, half marathon, whatever, you put your time in, and by whatever time you are right now, basically that tells you your fitness for right now. And then from there, it will actually come up and give you a chart of all the correct paces that you should be running for different things, like easy days, interval days, sprint days, your long run, all these different things. It'll tell you your exact pace range within, I think it's about 10 or 15 seconds per kilometer. So it's very accurate. And that's pretty much what I go on all the time. And then as I get fitter, as I get faster, my race times start to go down throughout the year. Then my actual paces for all my training sessions, they start to go down as well. And also if I get out of shape, they go back up again. But I find it's very accurate. It's very easy to stick with. You can just quickly look down on your GPS watch. It'll tell you. I imagine it's very similar to heart rate though, where you You know, you can just look down, see what your heart rate is, and then all of a sudden, oh, I'm going a little too quick, slow it back down again. I just really like the pace with a GPS watch. I just find it's very, you know, you're not lying. Whatever speed you're going is the speed you're going. You're either going too fast or too slow. Now, the only downside to that is as soon as I get on hills or if I'm on a rolly terrain, it's very hard to stick to that pace, right? So what I have to do is I actually combine perceived effort with the GPS watch. So what that means is, for example, if I'm going out for a long run, I know my pace is about a 5 minute per kilometer pace for my long runs, as I am right now. So I'll go out and I'll start banging out the 5 kilometers, maybe 5:10 pace. And then when I start getting the hills, I automatically know I need to slow down a little bit. And then I turn into my perceived effort for a long run, which is about a 4 out of 10 perceived effort. So over time, I've learned my 5 kilometer pace on the flat for what that feels like as a 4. So as soon as I hit a hill, I know to just bring it back down so it still feels like I'm going out of 4 out of 10. So it's a good combination of the two, and it really works for me. So if you're looking for a really effective way to train in zones, I would definitely recommend using your pace, actual pace, combined with your perceived effort. It really does work out well, especially just to get that combination of everything, flat accuracy and hills with the adjustment. So that's pretty much what I use. You can definitely use heart rate monitors. And now there's something that's in the future. Like I said, I don't really know much about this, but it's power. And I think that just like cycling, power is pretty much taken over for cycling. It's probably going to do the same thing for running. I'm not sure how accurate they are yet. I'm not sure, because I feel like it's a little bit more complicated to figure out power output of a runner compared to a cyclist. Cyclist is, it's very like exact. You're spinning a pedal at this much, force, it's this much power. But running, I'm not sure how they do that yet, but if they can figure out power, that will be probably the future of for running and metrics for figuring out your zones, because there is no lie. It's just, this is the power you're outputting. So the future will be power. Up until then, you can definitely use heart rate, or you can use a actual pace plus perceived effort. So that's pretty much my tips about that. Those are pretty much all the options you got. So pick one, practice it. It's definitely a skill you have to learn, especially with perceived effort. So just get out there and just keep practicing, keep getting better, because you never know, someday your devices might be dead and then all of a sudden you have to do it yourself. So thanks a lot for watching. Keep going after those goals.